Greetings, folks. You join me again today for a bit more of an exciting video. I've got a bit of an upgrade to do today. Today we're going to be rebuilding and upgrading my KLR's carburetor. There is a nice little upgraded pilot jet that you can buy on Eagle Mike's website. It goes from a number 40 to a number 42 pilot jet. I'm not exactly sure what that number means, but it is a slightly larger opening on the pilot jet, which controls, I think, from 0 throttle to quarter throttle. So on the lower end, I'll have a little bit more oomph to put into it. And I've got about 14,500 miles on this bike. I haven't really noticed any problems with the carburetor. So this is more of just making sure that it lasts longer. Just kind of want to rebuild it, put some new materials in it, do the upgrade with the pilot jet. So yeah, we're going to be doing that today. Let me turn around and show you what I'm doing first. Okay, so to get at the carburetor, we're going to be taking our side fenders off, we're going to be taking the seat off, we're going to be taking the tank off, and then there's a few things to disconnect here. So I'm going to be disconnecting these throttle cables. A good way to take these off is to only loosen the top nut on each of these connections. That'll keep your adjustment where it is on the bottom nut. And then we are going to be coming around. I've already got these lines disconnected from my fuel tank. Make sure to turn your fuel off. And then, as we did with our choke replacement the other day, we're going to be undoing the choke nut right there. That one you want to be careful, it's plastic. So if you either tighten it too much or are not careful with your wrench or pliers, you could strip it pretty easily. And then I'm also going to be draining the gas. I've got a few little rags for that. And I think that should be enough to take it off. Obviously, you'll be loosening these hose clamps holding it on too. But yeah, I think that should be about that. So I'm gonna get all this stuff off. These fenders take 8 mils. The seat takes a couple Phillips heads. And then this tank has 2 10 mils under the seat and a couple Phillips holding these plastics on. Okay, we got the seat off, and first step is just going to be draining the gas out of this bowl. Got a little rag here, and this bolt is an H3. Just going to loosen that. And then tip this a little bit. I'll actually do this with both hands, so I'll show you after. Okay, we got our gas drained, got the bolt back in. Next, I'm going to be loosening the top nut of each of these. I think it's a 10 mil, and then feeding both of them through each of these loops so we can get the throttle cables out of the way. Then we will be moving on to the choke cable, I want to say. Yes, the choke cable is next. So that's going to be removing this plastic nut right here, and it is plastic, so you do want to be careful with it. I found that going at it like this with just a normal pair of pliers put to that second notch, that gives me just enough room to get a handle on it and twist it. And yeah, just be gentle. You don't want to over tighten it, you don't want to grab onto the faces too tightly. Very easily strips. If you do strip it, there is an aluminum replacement that you can buy on Eagle Mike's website. I'll link that in the description. So I'm going to be taking that out, and then I think all that's going to be left to do is loosen the hose clamps on either side and then get it out. Okay, I've got both these hose clamps loose. And one thing I did want to mention is this vacuum line right here. When I was watching a couple reference videos for this job, I noticed that there were two lines coming off of this part right here. One was the fuel line coming off the bottom, and another was a line coming off of this other plastic little hose piece right here. And I don't know if that's where my vacuum line should be coming from, in which case I don't know what that one would be connected to or what it had been doing the whole time. I'm pretty sure when I changed these lines, I put them back the way that they came. So I don't really know. I'm gonna be taking this inside because it's like super hot out today. So I'm gonna do a little research and see what exactly this thing is for and why my bike has been working normally without it. So that's all that. Next, we are going to be just sort of angling this a little bit and then pulling it out. And from what I've seen in other videos, people pull this side out first and then just sort of yank it out from the airbox. So yeah, also be sure that this is clean. I'm gonna take a little compressed air to it before I actually yank it out so that no dirt gets into the intake or even on the airbox side. And then once I've got it out, I'm gonna shove a couple rags in both of those holes just to make sure that no dirt gets in while I am doing my repairs. All right, let's do it. And there we've got our extremely dirty carb. That'll be nice and clean by the end of this. And there we've got our rags in our holes. And just real quickly, got good vacuum there. That slide should come down pretty slow. And yeah, it looks like we're ready to head inside and get to the rebuild. Let's do it, people. Let's do it. Okay, I am inside now at my desk and ready to start on this cleaning, upgrade, and rebuilding. Look at this. Look at how dirty that thing is. Crazy. That'll be looking shiny and new by the end of this. What I've got here is I've got first a little kit from Eagle Mike. It's got 8 screws, all hex head. I'm not sure exactly what size that is, probably H3 I would say. But they are meant to replace the 4 screws holding the bowl on the bottom, and these screws holding the diaphragm cover on top. And additionally, I just want to say real quick, I'm not a certified mechanic. Please do not take my advice as far as all this goes. This is more for entertainment and just as another resource that you guys can use while you're doing this job. I'm learning alongside you if you're doing this for the first time too. So yeah, we've got these screws. These the screws that they'll be replacing, they strip pretty easily, reported or allegedly. And I'd like to just get these ones out. People say that if you use a JIS screwdriver, it works a little better than a Phillips. I'm not going to go through that trouble. I'll just be careful taking these ones out. I've got my rebuild kit here. This is a rebuild kit along with the number 42 pilot jet right there. That comes separately. I'll put a link to all these kits in the description. And then this is the KLX needle kit. So this needle right here is off of a KLX 650. And then I think, I don't know if like this jet is one of these or something like that, or if these are a number of different options for jets or something like that for your main jet rather than the pilot. I don't know, I'll have to look into that. Eagle Mike did send me an email with instructions of how to do this whole thing, so I'll be taking a look at that. I've got a number of different reference videos that I've been watching over the past couple days trying to get ready for this. I'll put the link to each of those in the description. They've been very, very helpful so far, extremely informative. So, yeah, I think the first step is going to be taking our hoses off, and also I did find out what this little nozzle is here, this plastic nozzle. That is a breather valve and is not where this vacuum hose goes. So this should be clear. When I'm done cleaning it, I'll blow through it, make sure it's clear. Yeah, and I'm not quite sure what else to say as of right now. I don't know exactly where I'll be starting as far as all this goes. I think probably to start, I'll be taking the diaphragm cover and the bowl off, and then just generally disassembling the whole thing. I want to get all the jets out, all the plastic pieces, all the rubber pieces out, all the diaphragms and all that, all the springs, everything, just get it all out and ready to clean. And I've got some carb cleaner with me. I don't have a wire to poke through some of the jet holes, so I may need to go out and get something that'll help me do that if they are backed up. Again, I haven't had any real problems with this carburetor. This is more of just a preventative job, so I'm optimistic that I won't really need to clean the jets very much. But yeah, also one of the requirements for this job is that you've got access to the idle mixture screw right there. Usually this is plugged. I just took a look at it and mine does not have a plug, so I've got easy access to that, thankfully. It can be illegal to modify this in some areas, apparently. Yeah, so just be careful as far as that goes. Yeah, not totally sure what I'm doing next. Probably I'll just be taking everything that I can off of here and getting it ready to clean, so I'll let you know. Okay, I just got the bowl off and it looks like there's a decent bit of varnish at the bottom. I do know that this bike was sitting for a decent amount of time before I bought it. Not too bad though. Decently clean. And it'll be totally clean by the time I'm done with it. Alright, let's take the top off next. Okay, I got the screws for the top off, and this is spring-loaded, so just keep your fingers over it while you're taking it apart. And there's our spring. And we want to make sure that there are no flat spots in the spring at all. And it appears to be great. Yep, that's a good spring. We've also got our diaphragm here. Which is connected to our slide. with our stock needle. And I just dropped a little thing. Let me put my phone down and get my bearings here. All right, and we got our slide disassembled. A few things to note. This hexagonal plastic piece goes this way into it. The needle goes at the bottom of it, so it gets seated right down in there, and that gets pushed through that main hole right there. And then another thing, there are some little nubs. There are 6 nubs around that big hole. See them? That line, or that lines this hexagonal piece up correctly. So if it's not put in the right way, this might not go all the way down, and that'll give you some problems. Additionally, this second hole right here, some people drill that out to 7/64. I may end up doing that in this job. I think it's recommended, or it says it's optional here. I probably will, since I am going with the larger pilot jet and the KLX needle upgrade. This is the stock needle. Yeah, I don't exactly know what that would do. It would make the vacuum less powerful, which may be necessary in this, given the upgrades that I'm doing. I've also got a FMF exhaust, which may be affecting the tuning of my bike without my knowing it, so I think I probably will drill that out just to see what happens, honestly. And if it ruins the bike, then I'll be buying a new one. But yeah, so that's that. That's all that. We've got our spring. Okay, so that's all that. Now, I think before I address my float and my jets, I'll be taking the brackets off of the sides. These two. Yes, next I will be doing this bracket. And this, I forget the exact name for this, the piece that's under this cover right here, but it's a vacuum enrichener of some sort. Yeah, I don't know the official name, but there is a very powerful spring under this, so as you're undoing these 2 screws, keep a thumb down, pressed tightly against this so it doesn't spring out at you. And the guy that I'm watching right now says to go sort of back and forth between these 2 screws right here. And I'm about to do that. Let's do it. Okay, I got that all off. And as you can see, this spring was resting. So this little diaphragm goes down into that little lip. This spring rests on top of it, and it gets compressed all the way down to where this thing was. So yeah, it was very compressed. Be very careful when you're taking it off. And one strange thing that I just saw was, I think this fluid here is oil. Not 100% sure about that, but if it is, I don't know if that's very good. That may be indicative of some deeper problem in my bike. Not totally sure. Again, my bike has been running fine. It does burn through some oil, which apparently is normal for KLRs, so I don't know if that's, I don't know what's I don't know if that's bad or good or whatever. If you're watching this and you do know, please let me know in the comments. But that's that for now. Now I think we're getting on to this side. Let's do it. All right, yes, the next step for me is going to be taking off this screw, which holds the throttle cables. And then after that, I'll be moving on to my idle mixture screw. So this is just going to be a Phillips, I think, and then it pops off. And then for the idle mixture screw, you will want to tighten it all the way down. Right now it's slightly loose, and it is slightly loose to a precise measure. So I will be tightening it and counting how many turns it takes. Unfortunately, I've only got one hand. Still gotta get a freaking tripod. But yeah, I'll be using a small little screwdriver. They make idle mixture screw specific screwdrivers, but this will do fine for me, I think. I'll be going down and tightening it, counting how many turns it takes, and then unscrewing it all the way. Additionally, I would like to say that when you are turning it in, mine was just under 1.5 turns out. You want to be very careful and not over tighten, because you may break the end of this tiny little needle right here. It looks like mine's got a little dirt or something on it. Yeah, that's better. And if you break the end of this, you may just need to get an entire new carburetor, because it can just lose, you can lose that little end bit inside a tiny little hole, and it's apparently almost impossible to get out. So be very careful, tighten it just to when it stops, don't over tighten, and then loosen it all the way. Again, mine was just under 1.5 screws out, I think. I don't know how far I'm going to be screwing it out when I finish this whole job. Some people have said that like 2.5 turns is good. I don't know. I'm gonna do some research. I'll figure out what's correct. But additionally, there's a washer and then a little rubber O-ring still down in there. So I'm gonna get a little piece of wire or a little pick. I've got some picks, and just try to fish those out. They're going to be at the bottom. This spring goes over this like that, and then the washer goes right there, and the O-ring goes on top of it all. So I'm going to try to get those out, and we'll go from there. Okay, I just used this nice little pick here. As you can see, we've got our washer and our rubber O-ring, and those just came out of that little idle mixture hole right there. Next, oh, I forgot to mention I took this little bracket off. That was simple, just the one screw came off. Next, we are dealing with all our jets. So first up, I think I'm going to be taking the pilot jet out. That's down in this hole right here. Sorry, my lighting's pretty bad. And then I think we're going to be taking the main jet out and the little piece underneath it. I don't know the official names for all this stuff. And then we're going to be taking our float out. That just entails removing this pin here and then taking the whole thing off. And there is a little careful, that's my needle right there. It just fell out, so I guess I'll just take this out. This Yeah, there we go. This is a rubber needle, and let's see if it's dirty at all. You want to inspect the end of this. I don't exactly know if that's dirty or not. There is the ring around it. But again, my carb has been working fine, and usually this little piece right here is the thing to go, or the thing that is the problem if you've got a dysfunctional carburetor. So I think that's okay. I'll just clean up the tip a little bit, keep all this together, and next let's get to our jets. I'll be using the same small screwdriver, and then using, I think this is an 8 mil wrench to take that out. Okay, we got our main jet out, and the top screw, the top part of the screw, this piece up here, that did not screw out separately. So I may try using a vice grip on the hex part here and trying to unscrew this top just so that I can clean both of them separately. Our holes look very clear. Got 3 on each of these sides, 5 on each of these. Those all look clear. And then, yeah, those look clear too. So we may not need to be doing much cleaning on the jets, but next, underneath the main jet, you've got this little piece here, and I'll just be pushing it out. Be very, very careful when you're taking the main jet out, because this can just fall out like I just demonstrated and get lost very easily. And you do not want to lose this piece. This is crucial. So that's that. Next we're doing the pilot jet. So I've been trying to get this pilot jet with this tiny little screwdriver right here. It's in there really tight, and I think I'm starting to strip the pilot jet. So I think I'm gonna put this on pause real quick and go get a screwdriver that is the right size for a pilot jet. This is a little too narrow. I think it should be size right here. I think it should be 4.5. So this one fit, but the hex thing that allows me to put it in my adjustable screwdriver, adjustable screwdriver, was blocking me because it's deep in there. So I think I gotta go get a new screwdriver, 4.5, and then I will be back to it. Okay, I just got back from Lowe's. I got a 3/16 flathead. Let's see if this will fit. Will it be too big? No, that feels right. Yep, and there we go. I just caught on the little indentation thing. I don't even know what that's called. What's that called on the end of a screw? Indentation? That'll do for now. All right, so that works. 3/16 or 4.5 mil. All right, let's take that out. That's a really blue light. It says white on the remote, but so there's our pilot jet. There's our main jet. I think real quick I'm gonna try to take this jet out of this, whatever this is called, this tube. I'm gonna get vice grips on the flat, on the hex, and try to unscrew it. And I just appear to be stripping the indent on the jet, so I don't think I'm gonna get that out of there. It's not totally essential. The passage is nice and clear, and the whole thing's pretty clean, so not essential. Let's get that out later. But yeah, we got our jets, and I think that might be about everything as far as getting this thing disassembled enough to get some carb cleaner into it. You want to make sure that all the rubber pieces are out. So in addition to those diaphragms, I'm also going to be taking the little gasket thing right here. We'll be taking that out in our bowl. And then we'll be just dousing it in some carb cleaner. And apparently it's good form to replace this gasket every time you take this thing apart. I've got a new one in this rebuild kit. I think I heard in one video that if it's looking in decent shape, you can reuse it. As I said, I will be replacing mine. Also, if the lip right here, if this lip is very dirty, which mine is not, you can take one of those picks and just sort of scrape all the dirt out of there. But yeah, so I'm about good. I'm gonna take this O-ring gasket out of here, and then yeah, I'll get this thing drenched in carb cleaner, and it's gonna look nice and shiny new. Let's do it. Okay, look at that beauty. That is a clean freaking carburetor right there. I did also want to mention, I forgot this little part right here. There is an O-ring that goes right in that little boss, I think it's called. And it's around here somewhere. Maybe it's in the other room still, or maybe I lost it. But there is a little O-ring right here. You want to take that out. I forgot to take that out and sprayed it with some carb cleaner. I'm hoping it still works okay. If it doesn't, I will need to try to find a new one. Again, I am not a mechanic. Please do not take my advice. But we've got a clean carb. All of the holes are clear. Made sure to blow some compressed air through each of them. Got a clean slide, clean top. Don't get any carb cleaner on this rubber piece here or this rubber piece. Cleaned that up, cleaned these little brackets up, cleaned my idle mix screw up, cleaned the jets up, cleaned this, this is the idle mix screw, this is just the idle setting screw, I don't know. Cleaned our bowl up, cleaned the float and the needle. And so we've got a clean set of parts for my carburetor. Next, we will be throwing out our old needle. We'll be getting rid of our little pilot jet right there, our number 40. And we will be starting on our rebuild and our upgrade. Oh, there's the little O-ring. That should be with those guys. So I did not lose it, cool. Yeah, so I think to start out with, I will be doing the basic rebuild. And I'm not gonna be using this needle, and I don't think I'm gonna be using one of these jets. but I might be wrong about that. Also, it looks like I've got a new idle mixture screw here, along with the spring and everything for it. So I've got a lot of new stuff. Got a new needle, and when I get this all back together, it should be running crazy smooth. But yeah, so yeah, let's do it. So I've got everything laid out now. I've got all the different parts for the KLX needle upgrade. It's got a 140, a 142.5, and a 145 that come with it, and then this 150 jet came with the rebuild kit, so I'm assuming the stock main jet is a 150. Let's see if I can see. No, it doesn't really say it on the stock one. Again, I was sort of eating it up while I was trying to get that main jet out of there. Now that I know I'll be replacing it, I might take another go at that, maybe put some WD-40 on it or something like that, I don't know. But got my O-ring put into my bowl, got the drain plug screwed back in. The rebuild kit came with a new needle, so I'll be replacing that. It came with a new idle mixture screw and all the spring and the nuts and all that. Came with the 42 pilot jet upgrade from the 40. It also came with another one of these little things, so if you lose this and you're doing the full rebuild, it's not too big a deal. And it came with this O-ring, which I can only really assume is the replacement for this one, although they're not the same size. So I'm going to take a look at Eagle Mike's directions and see where this O-ring is supposed to go. Also came with the needle. I'm not going to be using the new one since I've got the KLX. And I think that's about it. Yeah, so I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna read the instructions that Eagle Mike gave me. And yeah, I'll see what I'm doing for this. And then I'll get everything screwed back in, just as it came out. Let's do it. Okay, I was able to get this out. It just did need some WD-40, and then I took 2 sets of vice grips. I put one set on this and then squished another on this jet, and I was able to turn it. Okay, so right now I'm just reading these instructions as far as which of these main jets and which of these washers to use on this needle. And it's looking like, okay, I've got an aftermarket muffler, so I'm going to be referring to this. 142 main, clip in the middle, 3rd groove from top one. 1 thin shim under the clip. If the stock pilot jet, 2.5 turns out from lightly seated, much better to use the 42, that's what I'm using. So mixture screw, turn 2 turns from lightly seated. Snorkel removed, my snorkel is removed. Some people put holes in the airbox. If you do, also install the little push-in filters. Dirt through the carb will kill rings pretty quick. So, and I'm at sea level, I'm in Florida. So yeah, it looks like I'm gonna be doing, as far as the idle mixture screw goes, I'll be doing 2 turns out, and then I'll be using a 142 main jet, clip in the middle, 3rd groove from the top, 1 shim under the E-clip. Brass collar always on the top of the E-clip. So I think this thing is an E-clip, so I'll be moving this down one, and then I'll be using one of these 2 shims that come with it. and that'll be going underneath, and then this brass collar here will be going on top of it. And whichever of these is 142 will be the one that I screw into this guy. Okay, I still don't know what I'm doing with this O-ring here, but I say we start assembling. I think I'm gonna start with the jets. I'll get them all put back in here. I'm gonna do a 142 screwed in here, get that in the main jet up here. I'll take my 42 pilot jet, get that in my pilot hole, and I'll want to be sure to place this inside of my main jet hole before, and I'll make sure that it just pokes out right up here. All right, let's do it. Next up, I got those two in. The longer end of this little piece right here goes down. Got my 142 and my 42. Next we'll do my idle mixture screw. Get that all set up. Get it 2 turns out. 2 turns. And then go from there. We got the idle mixture screw in, and just again, we want the order to be O-ring on top, little washer in the middle, spring on the bottom, and then all screwed inside. And again, just be very careful to very lightly screw this all the way down to the bottom, and then screw it out the appropriate amount after it has been lightly screwed in. You do not want to break that end of the needle off. And then finally, for the bottom of the carburetor, we are going to be putting the float back in, and that will just be taking our carb like this, placing the needle down like this, and slotting it, and I'll show you this as it looks all put together. But you're going to be slotting the needle down on this little tab here, and then fitting the whole thing in there, and placing that little pin through right there. And I saw one of the reference videos that I'm watching was talking about how you can adjust the angle of this little tab here that the valve rests on, and I'm gonna take another look at it, but it seemed like when you're holding your carb to the side, it should have like a 95-degree angle. So it should be like, if you're holding it to the side, the float should be like just slightly up. I'm gonna take another look at the video, make sure that's right, but that is what we'll be doing. Okay, so I was mistaken about the orientation of a couple of these things. This is how it should look when it goes back together. And then what the guy was talking about was when you hold it in this orientation, it should be just above 90 degrees as it looks right there. If it was like that, it would be too low. And if it was like that, it'd be way too low. But this just is barely enough. And that's where you want it. So this little angle right here should be just above 90 degrees. We've got everything on the bottom all put in and set correctly. So I just got my bowl and set it on top. There are 2 bosses that this side of the bowl goes in, so you can't put it on backwards. And finally, we get to use our nice shiny new screws. We'll be putting 4 of these in each of these 4 holes, and tighten them down with the Allen key that came with them. All right, we got all these tightened down, and next I am going to reassemble our coasting enrichener. That's what this thing is called. So this will be going in first. I'll seat that little rubber piece in this little hole. I'll get my O-ring back in. I don't think this other one fits. Yeah, it's too big. So I don't exactly know what this one's for. I'm gonna do a little research. If I need to take these off again, it's not gonna be too big a deal, but yeah, we'll get this rubber piece seated. The powerful spring will go back in, pushed down by that, and then this will hold the whole thing down. Also, when I eventually do put this bracket back on, which I'll do last, I'm going to put orange or red thread locker onto this screw, which goes into that hole right there. Someone that I watched do this on YouTube said that that was a pretty good practice to do for that specific bracket. There's my thread locker right there, and then we will move on to the top with the needle. Okay, so as per my bike's requirements, I switched the E-clip from the second to the last notch to the middle notch, the third one. I got a little spacer on the end there, and then this brass head over the E-clip. And next we're just gonna slide it right down into the hole in the bottom there. All right, that was a mistake. We're gonna slide it into the bottom of this, right in the middle hole right there. And then I was talking about possibly drilling this vacuum hole out to 7/64 earlier in Eagle Mike's instructions that I was just reading. He said that this will give you a better feel, a better throttle feel, but it does not really add any power to the bike, and it could possibly make it slightly twitchy. So I'm gonna leave it as is for now, and I think maybe in the future I'll get a second slide and drill out the hole in that one, and then just switch them out, see what I like. I'm not really too concerned with having a touch more throttle feel right now, so I'm gonna leave it as is. Gonna get the needle into this hole right here, and then get the whole thing down and into our carb. Okay, got our slide back in. We wanna make sure that this diaphragm seats properly inside that groove. And Eagle Mike recommended that if it didn't, you could use a little bit of grease and just have it stick in there until you get the top in. Then you also want to make sure that your needle goes into that little piece sticking out from the main jet. I got my spring seat in there, that little plastic piece, got it nice and into those hexagonal grooves. And then finally, we'll be putting our spring back in and then pushing it down with the top of the carburetor. And then last but not least, we'll be putting our throttle cable bracket back on right here with a little bit of orange thread locker. And there we have it. The carb is all back together, squeaky clean. And here are all the spare pieces, both the old ones and then that O-ring that I didn't end up using, and then my new needle, old needle, both stock, and then those other main jets that I didn't use. So I think we're about ready to put this back on the bike. How cool is that? We'll be putting our fuel line back on the fuel inlet and our vacuum line back up here. And yeah, I think that is that. Cool, man. I was waiting on this job. I've had the parts for this for like a couple months now, just not really wanting to go through the trouble, but we got it done. That's awesome. We are back outside. Got my clean and upgraded carb. I'll take these out, and we will be putting in the wider end of the carb first into the airbox, and then smushing it into this side, the air intake, and make sure to wipe out any dirt that got in. And yeah, then we'll be putting on the throttle cables and our choke cable, getting the tank back on, and seeing how this girl runs. Okay, that was pretty challenging. I ended up going sideways and then sort of slotting it into the airbox side first, and then like smushing it into this side, and I had to use a screwdriver to sort of slowly get the rubber around each side of the carburetor. Whew. Next, I am going to reconnect the choke cable using that little plier trick that I was talking about earlier, and then I'll be getting the throttle cables in, and then connecting the vacuum and fuel line, and I think that will be it. Let's do it. All right, we've got everything hooked up. We've got our fuel turned on, got our gas tank on the bike. Now it's time to turn her over and see what happens. I think I'll engage the choke as normal. Whew, let's give this a shot. Okay, so I just took out my bike, tested it out, and it was doing fine, except for when I would cut the throttle, it seemed to continue firing a little bit. And so I don't really know what that issue would be, but I am going to take another look at all those carburetor videos that I was talking about watching earlier and see if there's any insights. Yeah, when I would cut the throttle, it would continue firing. So maybe it's lean. I'm not totally sure. I'm guessing that the correct fix would be to mess with the idle mixture screw a little bit, that thing that I turned out twice. But it's getting late, I'm getting tired, so I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Whew. The video's not over. I'm gonna try to tune this thing right before I'm done with it. So I'll see you in the next shot. Okay, so it's a couple days later. I'm back outside again, and we're gonna finish tuning up this carb. I was doing some research, and it does seem like my bike was running lean, that was that problem. When I would cut the throttle, it would continue firing for a little bit, and the engine braking was just really weird. So, because it's running lean, I was recommended to turn out my mixture nut, which is in this little tube here. I was recommended to turn that out like a quarter or half a turn, or maybe even more if it needs it. So I'll be doing that. Thankfully, you do not have to do very much as far as disassembling the bike goes for that. So the technique I'll show you here could be used for like a trail side cleaning or fix if you need it. Yeah, I don't even think I'll need to take the tank off. We'll see, but it looks like we've just got our hose clamps, so Phillips screw there, Phillips screw right there, and then we'll be disconnecting the throttle cables, and that is a 10 mil nut, I think, on the top of each of those things on the bracket. And then to get to the mixture screw, all I think I need to do is in addition to that, there is the choke cable on the other side. I'll show you how to do that, but all you would need to do is turn in the carb like this way, and then you could access the bottom. I think if you needed to do the top, you'd have to take the tank off, but yeah, this should be a relatively quick job. I'm gonna loosen those clamps, I'll get the throttle cables off, and then get the choke cable taken out too. And it seems that for this specific thing of trying to go fast, you can pretty much just pull the elbow for the choke out. It's sort of snapped into the nut that holds it on. So you can pretty much just like take it off, snap it out, and then snap it back in when you're done. So I'll be trying that, hoping it works. And yeah, let's do it. Okay, so I got my throttle cables disconnected on the other side, hose clamps loosened, and then this elbow, I literally just pulled it out, and the wire and the actual choke mechanism behind it didn't come with it, but it is sitting there loose, which means that it can be bent a little bit without potentially breaking that plastic piece holding it in. So let's move on to actually doing this little tune. And there we go. Pretty much just easily turned. I did have to remove the bracket that was holding those throttle cables on. I did put some Loctite on it before putting that one back on when I was reassembling, so I don't think I'll put more Loctite on. Maybe I will. I probably will. But yeah, so there we've got our fuel mixture screw, and it is easily accessible by a nicely sized flathead screwdriver. And yeah, I think I'll be starting with a quarter turn out from the fuel mixture screw, and then I'll run the bike, bring it up to temperature, ride it around my parking lot for a little bit, see if that has fixed the run-on effect, I think they call it. And then if it hasn't, I will keep going out in quarter turn increments. And let's just see here, because get a good little rest, because I turned, when I was reassembling this, I turned the fuel mixture screw twice out. So I'm going to turn it back in all the way. See how many that takes. So we'll do, you want to be careful doing this again, just to make sure that you don't break that needle. So we got a quarter, got half. Oh, and that appears to be it. So yeah, that was much further turned in than I tried. So let's go quarter, half. What is going on here? Half. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna put the camera down and see what's going on. All right, that was just simply a matter of it being in a weird angle and hitting on this when I was trying to use the screwdriver. So it was 2 turns out. I turned it all the way back in and then turned it out 2 1/4 just now. So I'm going to get this back the right way, and then I think before putting my throttle on, I'm just gonna operate the throttle by hand, and then I will retighten my hose clamps every time I test this. So I'm gonna get this back vertical, tighten my hose clamps down, maybe reconnect my choke plunger on the other side, give it a startup, and see if we need to make any further adjustment. Okay, so it's up to temp, and I just tested the throttle a little bit, and I think you can probably hear that after I release the throttle, it fires 2 or 3 more times. Ready? Yeah, hear that? That's a little extra, so I think I might turn it out another quarter turn and try this again. Okay, I just turned my mixture screw out another quarter turn. Let's see how that changes. Honestly, doesn't feel too different. I think since when I did the initial installation for my rebuilt Carb, it didn't feel like it was running lean, so I think I might ride this around the parking lot and see if I'm still running into that weird engine braking issue. Okay, I just rode around a little bit and I do seem to still be getting that weird engine braking. Run-on, I think it's called. But I think I'm gonna unscrew the mixture screw another entire like half turn, and then if that doesn't really improve the issue, then I'll know that that's not the cause of the problem. So let's try that. Let's do another half turn and see what happens. Okay, so I just took another little lap around my parking lot, and it did feel decently better. I'm not sure it felt perfect, but right now I'm 3 turns out on my fuel mixture screw. I put a bigger, by the recommendation of Eagle Mike, I put a bigger main jet in there. I've got the bigger pilot jet, and then also I've got this FMF exhaust, which is a very just wide open exhaust. So maybe that really did need three turns out on the fuel mixture screw. I'm gonna get my throttle cables back on there, and this will probably be the end of the video. But before I do edit and upload it, I'm gonna take it out for a nice little ride and see if it is actually working better, or if I do need to play around with it a little bit more. Okay, I was just out testing out that third turn out. 3 twists on the mixture screw, and the problem wasn't going away. So I messed around with the idle mixture screw a little bit, this big one right here, and that seemed to be changing it a little bit. I've noticed in the past that when I've adjusted that screw, it's either increased or decreased the engine braking, so that may be it. I may just need to mess around with that more, but this isn't going to be the end of the video. I think I'm going to come back out either later today or tomorrow and just try to fine-tune this thing, you know, make it run right. So I'll see you then. Okay, I'm back outside. It's been a number of days. When I was having trouble with the mixture screw last time I was out here, I was getting so annoyed at having to take the carburetor and like twist it and all that every time I wanted to adjust the fuel mixture screws. So I ended up buying one of these thumb adjustment screws. It's like a little thing for your thumb right there. It sticks out the bottom. So I'm not going to tune anything today. I was just working on getting some ceramic paint on my header and my exhaust earlier, and I've been out here for a little bit. I'm all sweaty. But yeah, right now all I'm going to do is loosen my hose clamps, get my choke out the other side, and throw this thumb screw on here. So next time I do come out, it'll be much easier to adjust the mixture. I think I put my problem on Reddit, and a guy suggested that there might be like a vacuum leak in this boot right here, which I would not be surprised by, because I was yanking on that thing when I was trying to get the carburetor back in between both of them. But I sprayed some brake cleaner around it and didn't really notice any dip in the rev speed. I may try that again, but if that doesn't work, then I think what my next course of action will be to adjust my needle. So I'll be taking the top of the carb off, adjusting the clip on the needle, and we'll see if that fixes this whole run-on issue. So yeah, for now, just taking the stock or the new mixture screw out and getting our thumb one on. And there it is. And what's kind of crazy is I just took this bike for a ride, and the strange run-on problem, the strange like extra firings after I closed the throttle, went away. So my bike seems to be perfectly tuned now. I was just testing the throttle response at quarter throttle, full throttle, half throttle, etc., and it was performing perfectly well. The one explanation I think I would have for it is when I took out the old mixture screw, there is a tiny little washer I probably showed it earlier, but there's a tiny washer and then an O-ring, a rubber O-ring. And when I took out the old mixture screw, I did not see a washer come out behind it. So maybe that little washer fell off in the process somewhere. And I'm guessing that was what was causing the issue, because now my bike runs fine. So that's amazing. I've got a fully rebuilt, cleaned, and upgraded carburetor. I've got this nice rust-free exhaust. Excuse me. And yeah, that appears to be the end. I did get the fuel mixture screw out 2 turns, 2 full turns, and that seems to be fine per Eagle Mike's instructions. So yeah, that'd be about it. Thank you all for watching. This was a very fun little challenge to take on. I don't know if I'll paint the carburetor black. That'd be cool. That I would have to be very careful with all the little holes and such, but I might be able to do it. We'll see. I'm sweaty, it's hot. There's gnats all around my head. So I just took my bike out after getting that thumb screw in and getting that little tuning issue worked out. And the power, there's such a huge difference. It's not overwhelming, the difference, but the power is right there, right when you need it. Like going up decent hills before would require you to lay on the throttle like a good bit, maybe like an 1/8 or a 1/4 turn or something like that, but now it's just like a little touch and everything you need is right there. It's a great upgrade. I highly recommend it if you're considering. So yeah, and then you know, I did that muffler change. That's another video on this channel. You can search that up on my page, but I was just running it, and the ceramic coating definitely does seem to be making keeping the temperature in a better spot, so it's not overheating as much as it used to. And it wasn't overheating before, but it was a little bit hot. Now it's like perfect. So all in all, great upgrade. Highly recommend it. I imagine I'm gonna get a lot of use out of that. And the thumb screw's great. But yeah, that's about it. Just wanted to record this little update. Get one last shot of my bike with its new shiny black header. Yeah, now for the real outro. Bye bye, folks.